Welcome to the session on fostering Changemakers innovative learning methods for students. Before I introduce myself more formally, I would like you all to answer this question because this is a question that I've asked a lot of people. I know we are a bit old, I know we are past that age, but it's quite important to answer this question. So, the question stands as share one thing that you liked about your school. It could be curriculum, it could be games, it could be teachers, and one thing that you wish you had as a part of your school education. Say, I wrote, Hi, I'm Shiv. I liked curriculum and I wish I had got upskilling training. So you can use the chat option and you can write what you liked about your school days or about your school time and what you wish you had as a part of your school time. So please use the chat option. I'll just wait for about 15 seconds to get responses. Okay, Anand has written, I like vocational classes and I wish I could have experiential learnings. Good. Anybody else? Maybe Subarna or Vanshika wants to add on? One thing that you think, okay, this is something I really liked and I really thought that this was something which was missing. I like the extracurricular opportunities and I wish I had a more practical approach of teaching. Great. So with this, we will proceed with the next part. So hi, I'm Shivansh. I am a University of Nottingham alumnus and a Chevening scholar, and I head this organization, which is a national organization for upskilling known as City One Initiative. We are based out of Rajasthan in India, and we have curated 21st century skill simulations for school students. And in this regard, we have conducted 120 plus upskilling camps impacting 15,000 plus folks pan India and even abroad. And I firmly believe in this line by Pablo Picasso, which says that every child is an artist. No matter how old we are, even if you're 20, 30, 35, 40, there is a child in us. But the problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up. That is actually the problem statement. That is, even when we are old, when we are into the late years of our school, early years of our college, early years of a job, how do we make sure that we actually do not end up missing out on the artist that is there in us? We don't end up losing on our passions or the learning cycle that exists. So that is what we'll be discussing today and many more imperative aspects around it. So about City One Initiative, as I told, we are a national upskilling organization. We develop 21st century skills. Through the organization, we have conducted 80 plus simulations impacting 20,000 plus students. And we specialize in conducting model events, public speaking camps, workshops, leadership summits, and a lot of other interesting areas that can be clearly understood by these images itself. So the next part is, let's do a quick part around desktop stretching. Even though I understand there are not a lot of people in the room, but I would recommend everybody to follow the desktop stretching part. It's just a quick 2-minute activity. And if we all are on the same page with the desktop stretching before starting, can I hear a zap from all of you? ZAP, zap, that's my personal code word. ZAP, if you are here with me. So let's start with the quick part around the desktop stretching. So first part is we'll try to rotate our head 2 times, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, because we have been sitting for a long while, so we should stretch our neck, and from left to right 2 times before we start with the session. And then finally, we'll do one final activity in which we'll be trying to rotate our eyes clockwise and anti-clockwise. So clockwise once and twice, and anti-clockwise once and twice. And after this, I would request all the audience to support me in the last part, which is stretching yourself towards right and towards left as much as you can. So try to take the hands up and stretch yourself as much as you can towards the right and as much as you can towards the left part. Great. Now we'll be proceeding with the next part, which is the gap in learning. So whenever we understand this part, which is gap in learning, we consider it either to be a problem around the economy of a country, that is, the country isn't doing well in terms of money, or we consider it in terms of, you can say the economy could be good, but the education sector might not be getting that amount of payment. So let's see what is more around the gap in learning. First part is that 70% of 10-year-olds in low and middle income countries, that is in developing and underdeveloped countries specifically, are unable to understand a simple written text. That is a report of World Bank, a very recent report. So it could be in terms of, you can say, understanding a sentence, a word, or even in worst case an alphabet. They are not able to do even though they are 10-year-old. And a lot of other students, say the remaining 30% who are 10-year-olds, they are able to form sentences, participate in public speaking activities, debates, and a lot of other areas around. Now let's see the next part around the gap in learning, which is the handshaking interface required between teachers and technology in a class. So since most of us are from India, we know India is a developing nation, and obviously there is a sync between the teachers and technology, but still there are a lot of suburban areas and rural areas present near our locality where even though there is technology, but there might not be internet access, another challenge. Or the teacher might not be well equipped enough to make the students understand the working of a laptop. There might be limited features that the teacher has understood, and that is what she's imparting to the students. So that is again a very important part, which is limitations from the end of teachers and technology in a class fashion. Next is told versus taught to study. That is, whenever we have been there as a part, you can say, of our growth, or maybe you can say whenever we are as a part of our classroom, always we have been taught to study or told to study. That is a question as well. We have been always told to study or told to concentrate. That okay, hi, start discussing, or okay, say we can say hi, you have to concentrate on this, rather than teaching them how to concentrate. If you all agree, and welcome Miss Sheikh and also Utkarsha. And if you are here with me, can I quickly hear a hi from you? And Miss Sheikh, if you are here, okay, great. Hi Vivek, thank you so much for joining. So that is the most important part, that which is that we have been always, you can say, told to concentrate, that these are the books, this is the education, let's try to study, rather than how we should concentrate. That is a deeper approach. And for this, I recommend a very strong TED talk to you all, that is by Dandapani, which talks about how to concentrate. So we can do a very quick activity in this regard, where we can close our eyes and we can imagine a dark room, a room absolutely dark, black. And then we imagine three lit balls in front of our eyes, and those three balls are separate from each other. Those three are the main areas of focus that we have to maintain, and we have to then meditate onto it, concentrate onto it for the next 5 to 10 minutes. This is just the starting part of that talk. And then he builds onto it and tells how we should concentrate rather than just being told to concentrate. The next part around it is metrics of measurement. How many of you think that since our early school days itself, we have been competitive by nature? How many of you think that always we have been taught to, you can say maybe grades, marks? We have been always projected to grades. We have been always projected to marks. That okay, grades are very important, marks are very important, marks will get us everything. Most of you agree, right? That marks will get you everything out there. But there is still a lot of black box around what if not marks. Because marks do develop a competitive spirit, they do end up making students, you can say, learn well, but are actually marks everything? Like we see there are a lot of competitive exams going on pan world, especially in India. We have different exams for different sectors, be it the banking sector, administrative sector, learning sector. Even for going abroad, you have IELTS exam, TOEFL exam. But what if not the metrics of measurement are grades or marks? Can it be more qualitative skills, like we have lines of inquiry in IB schools? Can it be more in terms of the quality of a student, because we are entering into the era of SDG 4, where inclusive education is the major need of the hour? So that is another question that we all have in our mind. So let's go and keep these thoughts rotating into our mind, and let's switch to the next part, that is need of innovative methods. So when we talk about 21st century skills, then it is very important that our children, that is the students whom we mentor, or if we are ourselves a student, we should know these skills well, we should learn and imbibe these skills well and bring it into our practical application, so that we are more employable and open to the opportunities of future. And these three skills include but are not limited to foundational literacies, competencies, and character qualities. So foundational literacies is anything that comes in use on day-to-day basis. That is the way we speak, basic knowledge of literacy, that is the basic knowledge of alphabets, syllables, phonetics, etc. The numeracy, that is basic addition, multiplication, and then the basic financial literacy using computers, basic sciences, the STEM part, the cultural knowledge that we gain from the GK part. So this is what we already know. Now I would like to give you a more broader example around the competencies part. So in this, a good example for all those who are educators out here, or for all those who are into education or really want to learn, a new way out is, for example, if there is a group of students, say 20 students, we divide them into 4 groups. I repeat, we divide them into 4 groups. And those students, which are now five students in each group, totaling up to 20, we tell them that each one of you has been given a problem statement and you all are the leaders of a company. By leaders, I mean one is a CEO, second is a finance officer, third is a logistics officer, fourth is a welfare officer. How will you solve the problem? And in order to solve the problem, you have to use these skills specifically. That is collaboration. That is how will you collaborate, let go, some of you can say the things that you really want and bring in something that is more important. How will you strongly endorse communication, creativity, and finally your critical thinking skills. That is the golden part, because in this basically you will get to understand and you will get to learn how is it actually there and how the things actually work. So that is very important when it comes to, you can say, the need of innovative methods into the learning part. Now going to the next part, this is something that we already know, that gamification is important. We should allow students to focus more. We should allow them to discover more topics. We should allow them to nurture more relationships. This is something that we can take a quick screenshot of and we can read it later on, because all this has been already explicitly made clear through this slide itself. So I won't be stopping much onto this slide because I have a more important point to play, which is project-based learning. So let's read this together for about 10 seconds. That is, project is the vehicle for teaching the important knowledge and skills that students need to learn. So for example, if we have a bus that takes us to the school, so project is that bus which takes us to our learning process, in which we learn skills and we learn the knowledge and we become more competent, we become more capable. That is the area around it. So if till here all of you are with me, can I hear a yo in the chat quickly? Y-O yo, all those who are here with me, a yo or a thumbs up? Thank you, Vivek. What about others? If till here all of you are with me? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that affirmation. Let's quickly go to the next part, project-based learning. So by project-based learning, even when I think of it from a very conventional method, what first comes to my mind is a very common fact. A teacher comes into the class, she teaches us this is, that is there, and etc. etc. As a homework, I give you a project. You have to write it in an A4 size sheet, make a volcano around eruption, do this experiment. That is not project-based learning. That is just the desert. I repeat, that is just the desert. Because the main area of learning is centered around the main course, which is PBL, in which the entire approach is based out of a project. It's not like a teacher is teaching for 2 hours, 1 hour long lecture, and then she says, this is the homework, just do it as a project and get done with it. It is much more beyond it. So let's go around, let's dive deeper into what is project-based learning actually. And then I'll be also giving you some practical examples around case study. Then we'll do a quick activity together. So learning by doing methodology, we have been very fond of. That is, try to experiment, try to do things that fail. Because out of 10, if 9 things fail, one would surely work out. Next is project-based learning obviously prepares you for real-time situations and enhances your skills. So let's see what are the parts of the PBL approach according to Buck Institute of Education. First is when a teacher just gives you a short topic, she doesn't teach you anything. She doesn't tell you anything. Say, for example, a teacher says to you, you all are the basic contractors who have to understand the need of a client who wants to build a house. I repeat, you all are the main stakeholders who have to take the contract of a house from scratch. There is no building, there is no map, there is no blueprint. You are the people, you are the person who has to gather in a group and build that house. That is the challenging question. That is the main agenda. And the notion behind it, or the learning behind it, is that the teacher wants students to gain the basic financial and mathematical skills, understand them how the construction of the house work, and through that, how does basic communication and collaboration work. That is competency skills and basic literacy skills as well. Then comes the line of inquiry. So whenever a school child has been given this task, they obviously know that in their house they have homes, they have leisure, they have ACs, they have fans. They know that, okay, house is built out of bricks, their house has got 2 floors. But what they don't know is, how does a blueprint look like? What is the role of an architect? They know who is an architect, but what is the role of an architect? Who is a construction engineer? They will be curious about it once they start learning. That is line of inquiry, the things they know and the things they are curious about. Next is credibility and authenticity. For this, any teacher or any faculty can get in credible experts on board. Could be again a credible architect or a construction engineer who can explain the students that along with the house that you see that has been built with 2 years of hard work, it has a clear blueprint. Then the workers started working on it. So how do we come from the blueprint, explain it to children, and then set it up? That is very important. And then finally comes is students expressing themselves, raising their voice, telling the other students that, okay, we should place this here, we should understand the need of the client, we should go around it, and we should not do this, instead we should do this. Client doesn't want the toilet to be there on the right side on the first floor, let's make it on the left side. So a lot of other interesting stuff coming. And then finally the students tell their reflections and their critical outlook, that this is what I really learned and this is what I feel that I could have done better, or this could have been provided to me in a better way. So these are the 6 ways. I'll be just pausing quickly here for the next 10 seconds if anybody wants to quickly read around it, and then we can proceed to the next part. And meanwhile, if you have a doubt or a query, you can obviously drop in chat. I would be happy to entertain. So let's go to the next part quickly. 2 case studies. So one is Bal Panchayat, that is our own case study. That was a youth-led project that we started off last year around local government. So before I tell you more about this project, I would want to know how many of you have heard about child marriage, or how many of you have heard this concept of child marriage or have seen child marriage. Would be very interesting to hear. If you have seen, you can do a thumbs up, or you can write I have in chat. Anything would work. That yes, I know what is a child marriage, or I've seen a child marriage happening in front of me. Panchayat basically is the rural level government or the root level government of a system, right? Okay, thank you so much, Vivek, and other people as well who have raised their hands and affirmed. So basically, Panchayat is the root level government system. What we see in India, you can say the state level government, the central level government, the higher levels located in the capital, New Delhi, that is the top layer and the middle layer. The actual layer from which the government starts is the Panchayat, from where it all started, where the rural governments, the villages, they form their own government and they try to rule on major decisions, and the leader of them, head of them, goes again to the city, then the state, then the main center. That is how the levels are there. So that is brief around Panchayat. So obviously in Panchayat, students, younger students who are not, you can say 18 years above, they cannot be a part of it. So by default, we made a model that was called a Bal Panchayat model, which had both a very interesting combination of a desert-based project also and main course project also. How? I'm just going to clarify in the next 5 minutes. So with the main theme being child marriage, because as you can also see in the picture, most of these students were either victims of child marriage, their Gona is the initial part of child marriage, either that was already done, or some of them were the ones whom we really wanted to make aware or spread awareness around so that this does not happen again. So these are some college students with whom we remotely recruited. We were sitting in Jaipur. There is a nearby city called Ajmer. So we remotely recruited few interactive, good college students, around 50 of them. We trained them specifically, and our experts also went there. And in that suburban area, partnering with India's one of the largest NGO for child rights, that is Cry India, we could make this project possible. And how did we do it was, we told these children what is the importance of your voice, public speaking. And that is what we taught to them. So that was a desert project for them in which we taught them how does it work. And on the final day, after 2 months of training into leadership, public speaking, we also taught them about basic laws such as Child Marriage Act Law of 1929, how it got amended, what is the legal age, how can you make your child marriage null and void if you are 18 or above. So that is what was taught to them. But for the college students, there was no curriculum given to them. That was the main course project, which these college children actually, or these college students actually led for 2 months, where they were helping the children have their voice, perform stage dramas, nukkad nataks that are called in Hindi, along with, you can say, a lot of poster presentations, filing public interest litigations, and a lot of interesting things. So this was our Bal Panchayat project that we had led for almost 2.5 months last year. And this year, I'm proud to share that we collaborated few rural students with urban students, and we did it even on a bigger level. This is the first part of the case study. This is our Bal Panchayat case study. Now, next is a case study from CA, that is a tiny house project case study done by a school teacher there. Example I had already given you in the last slide, that is, how about that you get to design a house of your own, you get to allocate an entire budget and then develop blueprints. So this was made possible by the common app which is called Minecraft. Students were very friendly with it. Students could learn well in it. And that is how they tried to project their own building blueprint into Minecraft. Then they were introduced to a construction engineer and an architect who really helped them learn the basic parts around the agenda. And that is how they were able to develop their entire house with no teaching techniques used by the teacher. It was just their mindset, and teacher or the construction engineer acted as a catalyst. So these are the two case studies, Bal Panchayat and Tiny House Project. So let's start with the second topic for the day, that is flipped learning. So flipped learning is robust instruction made possible by leveraging technology to create fertile spaces for teaching and learning. This is basically a strong jargon-based definition, which a person like me is not able to understand, to be frank. For me, the term flipped means you flip something that is being done in X place with a Y place. That is what I understand, and we all understand by the term flipping. That is, X becomes Y, Y becomes X. You turn it around. So similarly, flip learning technique for students as well as for teachers is very effective when we want the students to do something more productive in the classroom, and whereas they can clarify their notes, they can clarify their learnings at home itself using a recorded lecture or using some other technique. So let's see more around this part. So basically, flipped classroom focuses on a very high order thinking, that is a more active learning technique, where in class we give activities to the students like group discussions, learning, you can say learning through team activities, and at home they can read the lectures, they can read the notes, and they can get it designed. And this was also shared with us when I was back in Nottingham. Then most of our professors used to do this flipped classroom technique only with us when they used to bring in very interesting case studies in the marketing sector or from the banking sector, and we used to already be prepared with it. And in the class we used to discuss videos, we used to participate in a lot of interesting group activities. And the best part is, if we do the flipped classroom technique, students become the leaders, that is, they become the alternate teachers, and they facilitate their own learning. They are responsible for their own learning, and they are already prepared beforehand for the lecture in terms of the recorded lectures. And the most important part is, it is flexible with the student pace. That is, you can go home, you can take your own sweet time to read the lectures, prepare notes, and then come prepared for the class activities. This is a flipped classroom. Just to reiterate through this diagram itself, firstly, you prepare for the class activities at your home. Then during the class, you do the activities, apply your feedback, and after the class, you check the understanding and you extend the learning. That is, you give yourself a feedback, and again you repeat this loop in order to enhance your high order thinking skills. And a good example is, in pre-class, you prepare interactive video lectures and do online quizzes. In class time, you do analysis of reading, perform simulations, and you basically, for instance, say teaching basic social media to students for designing the posts. So that can be another example. For this, what we'll do is, we can give them some videos and templates around Canva and Photoshop. They can read it at home, they can check some videos at home, and when they come in class through their digital devices, we can gather them or make them in groups, give them themes around it. Say you have to prepare a social media calendar, or somebody has to do an online marketing for Nike or Adidas or Puma, and then you develop social media posts with a good call to action onto it, with a good design, less text, and other parts around it. So that is how the flipped classroom technique can shape up. Now, the most interesting part we have come to, that is our 3L model, that is learn, leverage, and lead. So this is our own USP model that we have been using from 2016 when my organization was formed. and this is has been super successful for us in terms of imparting our learning to the students. So 3L stands for learn, leverage, and lead. That is, we impart our learning to the students, we teach them how to leverage it, how to utilize it, and in the final simulation, after the trainings given by us, they become the leaders of change by participating into activities, by you can say releasing, you can say, their own initiatives on ground. So it is our signature model. It uses project-based and experiential learning approach. In the first part, whenever we teach and whenever we make the Gen Z learn, and we also learn with them, we use Gen Z-based learning methods, such as, this is super important, all the educators or people who are into the education sector can either take notes or a screenshot of this part. That is, age-specific memes can be used. OTT, that is platform examples from Netflix and Amazon Prime, can be used. Then movement-based activities can be used for the younger students to stimulate interest. That is, when we make them learn, we use methods that actually help them, the methods which they usually like. Then comes the assignments and activities which we give them that help them to leverage what they have learned. So a good example that I've already given was role playing like the CEO of a company and solving via group activities, or recording your own speech. This is for those who really want to improve their public speaking skills, that they can record their own speech on an impromptu topic. Then next day they can come in class, gather in a group, see each other's recording on a projector screen, give each other feedback. Then they come to the teacher and ask for the feedback. That is a double feedback mechanism. So that can also work around the leverage part. And then finally comes, you can say, the action part, where in the final simulation, which might be of a day or 2 days or maybe couple of hours, students use their actions, or basically students use their learnings that they've already leveraged by getting them into the stage-based simulations and give them a platform to express and lead. So what could be these simulations? They could be camps, they could be leadership summits, they could be model UNs, they could be maybe some or Toastmasters summit, anything where they have learned all these activities using a 3L model and they can activate that. Now, before I go ahead, I have 2 quick questions for you, which I would like you all to answer. First is, have you all heard about Model United Nations? And second is, what age group you think it is targeted for? So basically, a Model United Nations is a formal level of debate, right? A formal level of debate where usually high school students, that is the major area where the high school students from grade 8 or above, they represent countries and they speak on trending agendas. That is, for example, it's based out of the entire United Nations that is built in New York, where, say, for example, I'll be a delegate of Russia or China or France in a committee which could be, say, UN Human Rights Council, and I want to talk about climate migrants and how are their rights getting affected. So basically, when I talk about that Model United Nations, we consider it to be to the students that they should have a deep understanding of diplomacy or diplomatic courtesy, you can say foreign affairs, international relations, a lot of other complex things. And age group we think it is targeted for is usually grade 8 or above, grade 7 or above, or minimum to minimum grade 6 or above. Now, imagine how would it be if we incorporate Model UN for students of grade 3 to 5. I repeat, how would it be if we incorporate this Model UN activity for students of grade 3 to 5? Write your reaction in the chat quickly. I'm just waiting. Just write your reactions in the chat box. Grade 3 to 5 doing the same thing that grade 6 or above does. Okay. Thank you, Vishal. Given that the topics are age appropriate, we can. What if we incorporate Model UN for the younger ages? Okay. So yes, we have incorporated the junior Model UN concept, and obviously students do represent countries, but this model is pretty different than what we already have. And if you are an educator sitting out here, we can help you incorporate this model into your school or into your organization as well. So let's see first what is the model around and how could we develop it, because this is also based out of our 3L approach. First is that we give them simple nations to represent with the idea that they will be thinking global but acting local. That is, even if they think from the perspective of a country, their actual ideology, their day-to-day research and their reading will by default improve. And even when they now look into the issues like waste management, pollution, traffic rules, they will have a more broader approach rather than the smaller approach that is already there being implemented. That was our first goal, that is think global, act local. Next was that we conduct specialized training sessions for different school students. So this is till now this is specifically for the IB schools. We are also trying to incorporate it into the CBSE schools which are there in India, and right now it is centered or marketed towards India only. And we create specialized training sessions where through the medium of cartoons, through the medium of memes, and through the medium of simpler things that they have learned before, we try to build onto it for the students. And it assists them in the areas of public speaking, critical thinking, collaboration, and leadership. And along with this, at the end, when those 5 6 training sessions are done, mock runs are done, students finally leverage and they become leaders of change by crafting those chart papers, which by default are forwarded to the UN agencies, keeping in mind that they have been prepared by a third grader, fourth grader, or fifth grader with their entire group, with their entire block, which represents again collaboration, indirectly or directly contributing to the 21st century skills.